Blinded by Wealth, Part 1.
I will give you wealth, and I will buy you a mansion only if your daughter agrees to marry me.
The village market was always full of life, with traders calling out their prices and customers bargaining for the best deals. The scent of fresh vegetable, roasted plantain, and handmade soap filled the air. Abena moved quickly, weaving through the crowd with her basket balanced on her hip. She was focused on finding the best yam when suddenly she bumped into someone. A faint but gentle hand steadied her before she could stumble. Looking up, she met the warm gaze of a tall, well-built man with kind eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly. The man smiled. "No harm done. I'm Kofi." His voice was deep yet smoothing. Abena hesitated for a moment before replying, "I'm Abena." They exchanged a brief but lingering glances before she nodded and continued on her way. In the days that followed, fate seemed determined to bring them together. Whether it was at the market, by the river, or along the narrow village paths, Abena and Kofi found themselves crossing paths again and again. Their conversation started out polite, discussions about the weather, the quality of crops that season, or the latest village news. But over time, they grew deeper. Kofi would ask her about her dreams, her childhood, and what made her happy. Abena, usually reserved, find herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone else. Kofi's presence was comforting, his laughter warm, and his words sincere. Kofi soon became a familiar presence in Abena's life. He would stop by her family's compound to help with small tasks, chopping firewood, carrying heavy load, or repairing broken tools. Her younger siblings took a liking to him, always running to greet him when he arrived. Her father, a man of few words, observed him quietly, while her mother would watch with a knowing smile. "He is a good man, Abena," she said one evening as they prepared dinner. Abena didn't respond, but her heart skipped a beat at her mother's words. One evening, after a long day at the market, Kofi offered to walk Abena home. The sun had set, leaving the sky painted in soft shades of purple and gold. The air was cool, and the only sound were the distant chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves in the breeze. As they walked side by side, their hands occasionally brushed, sending shiver through Abena's body. Kofi glanced at her, his voice gentle when he said, "I feel like I have known you my whole life, Abena." His words made her heart race, but she didn't reply. She was afraid of what she meant say, afraid of what she meant feel. As the days passed, the villagers began to take notice. Whispers spread about how Kofi and Abena always seems to be together. The older women smiled knowingly, while the younger girls looked on with curiosity, some with envy. Kofi started bringing Abena small gifts, a beautiful wooden comb, a bracelet made from smooth river stones. In return, Abena would prepare sweet dumplings for him or weave small clothes he would use while walking. These small gestures became their silent language, a way of expressing feelings neither had yet spoken aloud. One evening, as Abena helped her mother peel cassava, the conversation took an unexpected turn. "Kofi," her mother said suddenly, not looking up from her work, "do you have feelings for him?" Abena froze, her hands tightening around the knife. She wanted to deny it, but the truth was too heavy to ignore. "I think I do," she admitted in a whisper. Her mother gave her a small smile, the kind that held years of wisdom. "Love is something you feel in your heart. Don't ignore it, my daughter." Abena nodded, but deep inside, a storm of emotions raged. That night, Abena laid awake, staring at the wooden ceiling of her small room. Was she really falling in love? The thought excited her, but it also scared her. Love was beautiful, but it's also dangerous. She had seen women in the village weeping for men who had left them, seen heartbreak tear families apart. Could she trust her heart with Kofi? Would he stay, or would he break her the way she had seen others broken? The next day, as she walked to the river, she found Kofi waiting for her. He smiled, and without a word, they walked side by side. There was something different in the air that day, something unspoken, yet understood. When they reached the riverbank, Kofi reached for her hand, but stopped just before touching it. Abena, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Do you ever wonder what it would be like if we were more than just friends? Abena's breath caught in her throat. The question was simple, but it carried so much weight. She looked at him, searching his face for signs of hesitation, of uncertainty, but there was none. Only warmth, only sincerity. I do wonder, she admitted, her voice just as soft. A gentle breeze passed between them, rustling the leaves, carrying away unspoken words. Abena looked up at the setting sun, her heart pounding. She knew in that moment that something had changed. Whatever lay ahead, whatever fears she had, one thing was certain. She was falling for Kofi. As they stood at the edge of the village, watching the sun dip below the horizon, their hands almost touched. It was a moment of silence, understanding, a quiet promise that whatever was happening between them was real. The world around them faded, leaving only the sound of their hearts beating in sync. And in that perfect fleeting moment, love began to bloom. Kofi and Abena's love grew deeper with each passing day. They spent hours walking through the village paths, talking about their dreams, their fears, and the kind of life they wanted. Sometimes they didn't need to speak at all. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with an unspoken understanding. Abena found peace in Kofi's presence, and Kofi felt whole whenever he was with her. She would smile as he told stories from his childhood, laughing at the silly adventures he had. He, in turn, admired the quiet strength in her eyes, the way she always seems to carry the weight of the world with grace. Their love was simple, pure, and strong, strong enough to make them believe that nothing could break it. But reality had a crude way of reminding them that love alone was not enough. Kofi had always known the truth, but he had pushed it to the back of his mind, not wanting to face it. He had no stable job, no land of his own, no real way to provide for a family. He did small jobs around the village, carving wood, fetching water, helping on the farms, but it was barely enough to survive, let alone build a future. The more he thought about it, the more the frustration grew inside him. How could he ask Abena to wait for him when he had nothing to offer her? How could he promise her a future when he wasn't even sure how he would survive the next few years? One evening, as they sat together by the river, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Kofi finally spoke the words that had been weighing on his heart. Abena, I need to leave, he said, his voice low but firm. Abena turned to him, her eyes searching his face. Leave, she asked, confusion flickering across her features. He took a deep breath, struggling to find the right words. I love you, Abena, more than anything, but love is not enough. I cannot stay here and offer you nothing. I need to go to the city, work hard, and make money so I can come back and marry you properly. The words hung between them, heavy and painful. Abena's heart clenched.